Everybody. Hope you had a nice lunch and were enthused by the keynote this morning. So this is the beginning of a symposium. It's partly talk, but also we'll have a workshop element to it later. There are two of us performing. I'm going to offer the overview of what's going to happen, and my colleague Jisoo there is going to do all the hard work for the main part of the symposium. I like that division of labour. So it's going to follow along from my keynote yesterday in terms of thinking about learning to learn and how you can support students in their journey, their learning journey about learning. But this time it's going to be about learning analytics, which we referred to in the keynote this morning. So, as I say, there are three bits to it. This is the slide that I showed in my keynote about the nature of self-regulated learning and how that can be regarded as an activity that we need to support. And when students improve their self-regulated learning, they are then learning to learn. It's about finding ways to help them acquire these skills and to improve them. I had this diagram yesterday, which was the claim that almost all activities are essentially blended, that they have to be introduced by a teacher. When they're done, a teacher usually closes down the class or the bell rings or whatever you have, some way to finish things off. And the way it's introduced and the way it's ended can radically alter the value of what happens during the lesson. The teacher is the one who sets the scene, the motivation, the reason for the students to be there, what they might get out of that session. Afterwards, the teacher gets them to think about what did they learn, what didn't they learn, what did they like, what didn't they like. So that blending of the human input is absolutely crucial to the quality of the middle bit, which is often provided by humans, sometimes provided by machines. So the learning analytics approach, there are many, but the one that she's going to be talking about is one where the activity that the students are doing, it's many students working together, managed by a human teacher, hence it's green. On the left hand, there's no computer involved directly in that. And then the computer's job is to capture data, multimodal data, as Richard talked about, figure out what was going on, try to think of analyze what feedback might be appropriate, and then it's in this system. It's for the teacher, human teacher, again green for the fifth box there, whose job it is to make use of what the system has analysed and the diagrams it's produced to introduce that to the students and help them learn from what they did. Now, one of the issues here, which is about the timing. So I think in the work that Jean will describe, there's a break. The analytics aren't done in real time. So it's not that you're doing the activity and somehow at that very moment the system can, as you were, offer immediate analytics. Okay. It takes time to. We saw some nice diagrams this morning. They take time to make and time to interpret. So basically, there's a delay. I've shown that as a sort of a yellow barrier between the actual teaching that happens and the collecting of the data, and then the analysis and thinking about what the feedback should be, and then the actual feedback that may happen after the event. And that's good or bad. It's bad because it's after the event. So when you're giving feedback about something that happened before, the students have to try and remember back to what it was like. Okay, so that's bad. But then it's good also because it means that concentrating on the task in hand is not interrupted by a review of how well you're doing the task in hand. You know, it's quite hard to do both those at the same time. So there's good arguments for having a barrier and good arguments for not having a barrier. So I'm now going to hand over to G to do the serious stuff.
Thank you, Ben. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you here. And my name is Shi Zhou. I'm from University College London from United Kingdom. So today I'm going to introduce our work, AI integrated analytics for real-world collaboration and regulation of higher education studies. So representing our team with my teammate, one sponsor, our trainer, and our supervisor, Blue. So before I start, I want to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm currently a research fellow at UCL Knowledge Lab. My background is about educational technology. So I had my bachelor in back in China in Beijing Normal University in educational technology. Then I went to UCL in Institute of Education. Had my master and my PhD there for educational technology. So I focused on this topic for quite a long time, and my PhD mainly focused on using multimodal learning analytics and artificial intelligence to support teachers and students in collaborative learning. So let's start. So today's agenda, we will have about 75 minutes absolutely. So starting with an introduction of the case study AI models to indicate regulation of learning in collaborative context and the lesson learned from it. And then we will move to a hands-on experience with analytics feedback. So I just gave some password to you, so where you can use it later on the platform we have. And then we will discuss a little bit the issue beyond the AI. How can we co-design and move towards a teacher AI team? I think Ben gave us a very good introduction about the regulation of learning, and in our context, we mainly focus the socially shared regulation of learning, which compared to the individual one is more focused on the negotiation and the discussion between multiple learners, and they come up with their shared task, and they take shared actions, and they reflect together and monitor their regulations, and so the whole process of decision should be made by multiple individuals, and they come up with their shared task and shared goals, and they do something together. So the success in collaboration could be recognized as an ability of a group to adaptively regulate in response to challenges. So if they have challenge, they have different types of challenges. To address these challenges, they need to plan, they need to take actions, and reflect on the process of actions, and then move on. And also the regulation of learning refers to a goal-directed process where learners actively engage in monitoring and control their condition, motivation, emotion, and the behavior towards learning goals. So, however, this process is quite abstract and a little bit hard to be observed in the learning process. And then we bring up this question in the field of learning analytics: is learning process feasible? So if you look at the picture, the left-hand side, so it's a very good visualization to show that what we can observe in the classroom actually are the behaviors of students. For example, everyone's looking at me, I'm giving a presentation, or some people, they're talking to each other. But under it, what's more important about learning labels of the behind the learning behaviors is the emotions, motivations, cognitions, and beliefs. That's what we care about in the learning research. So we have applied a framework called From Place to Constructs, designed and raised by colleagues Wise and Roberto Martinez Maldonado from the Monash team. So they have an idea of mapping the from the right-hand side is the computational detectable events. For example, the log data we collected from the online learning environment and some speaking behaviors we can detect via the audio data, and mapping it with the human observable behaviors, who is talking, who is listening, who is looking at where, and then map it to the constructs not directly observable. For example, the quality of collaboration, whether students have a good ability of self-regulation or socially shared regulation. So with this framework, we have the question for ourselves of how will you model regulation of learning in collaborative context? So the key question would be, what data can we collect to analyze? And what are the educationally meaningful constructs in the context? So our idea in the very beginning, so we have some constructs about regulation of learning, how students plan, monitoring, reflection, and take actions, and about the quality of collaboration, where students are all engaged in this process of negotiation and discussion. And from the data we have, we are thinking about survey data we can collect from our learning platform, the audio data we can take from the learning environment, and the video data we can collect from their learning process. So that's the context of the study. We have conducted this study for about 5 years. So give an overall introduction of it. So it has been conducted in the 10-week MA module on design and use of technologies for education. And students have two main parts of learning activities. For the individual parts, they will engage with each other on Moodle to have debates, watch the pre-recorded lectures, and do some readings. But that's not the focus of today. So we focus on the group level activities today. So each week, students are invited to the classroom, have a group discussion with each other with the given topic. So we give a topic to them every week, and we set some tasks on Miro board. So it's an online collaboration platform, so they can collaborate there and finish the task there. And we are using an app we developed by ourselves to collect the survey data about the perceived challenges and production satisfaction, and also the mutual understanding. So during this process, it lasts usually about 1 hour, but we didn't set a very restricted time for them. Students may leave earlier, but most of the time they may last about 2 hours or more. And we collect the video data and audio data. We use interview sense camera, but actually it can be any webcam you find in the market, and a conference microphone to collect the data of the whole group. So with these three types of data, audio data, video data, and log data, we are trying to make sense of their process of socially shared regulation. We take this analysis into two parts. One part is about their non-verbal behaviors, which is not related to what they said. For example, the gaze behavior, who is looking at whom, and the speaking behavior, who is speaking, who is not speaking. So let's start with the non-verbal behaviors. We have first, we try to analyze students' gaze behavior, and we have come up with an AI-powered learning analytics for collaboration and regulation learning approach to detect the gaze behavior. And we use a pre-trained model for the gaze detection, where it can detect 4 types of gaze behavior, which is gazing at peers, which means that they might focus on their classmates in the group. Gazing at the laptop, which means they might focusing on the task and the resources on the virtual learning environment. Gazing at tutors, if a tutor is around, whether they have communication with tutors. And the last one is gazing at other objects, which means that they might be a little bit distracted by other things, or they are not focusing on collaboration tasks. So with this approach, we success in detect the gaze behavior in a very complex environment, because we have over 8 groups of students in one classroom, and everyone is walking here and there. But our algorithm achieved about 85% accuracy in detecting 4 types of gaze behavior. And also we use the automatic detection of the speaking behaviors using the Note and AWS transcripts. So with these two basic behaviors, speaking behaviors and gauge behaviors, we have come up with a rule-based approach to detect what kind of interactions students are having. For example, whether they are discussing with each other, which we name it as interacting with peers through communication, or they are observing other people, what they are doing, or they are discussing with their tutors. Here is interacting with the tutors through communication. So we have rule-based approach to do this. Reason why is instead of using a machine learning approach or other advanced AI approach, we want this process to be more transparent and explainable by a teacher. So for example, here, if the AI told a teacher saying, this group of students, they are talking with each other, so they will know, because there are two students speaking and the other students are looking at them. So this might be a scenario that shows students are discussing with each other. And if we use the machine learning approach instead of this rule-based approach, teachers will not know how decision has been made. They will only know, the AI told me they are discussing, but if I'm not trusting it, I'm not believing it's accurate enough, how can I make judgment based on this process? It's a black box, we don't know. So that's why we applied this. And we want to validate whether this approach is good enough. So we have run a process mining approach to see whether students with different patterns of interactions are exhibited in different performance of groups. So the left-hand side is the group with better performance, and the right-hand side is a group with a lower performance. And we find it's very interesting thing. So first, the higher performing groups, they have a cycle between the reading and following, which is one student presenting, just like now, I'm presenting, and everyone is looking at me and follow my language, moving their gaze behavior between myself and the screen. That's the refer and following. And the resource management, which is students, they move back their attention to the laptop and doing some hands-on activities. So this loop is like they are discussing it with each other, someone presenting it, and they go back to the real work, and then with the experience of the real work, they go back to the negotiation again. So that's aligned with the loop of the regulation of learning. And second interesting thing we found that is for the groups with high performance, they usually asking for support from tutors after the group discussion. So they will explore themselves. When they have challenges, they ask help from teachers. But for students who have lower performance, they tend to directly ask questions from tutors, and based on tutors' instructions, they will take actions. So that's what we have done for the nonverbal behaviors. But we want to move forward to understand what students talking about, what the content, how we analyze the content of it. So we have come up with this approach. So we process their audio data. We do the speaker diarization, which detects which student is speaking. So our environment is very complex. Everyone is speaking, and even the audio can collect the students in another group. So it's in a very small space, but with a lot of students. So we try to use AI to detect who is speaking in this group. And also we use the Whisper AI to do the transcription. So to train the data first, we do some human correction and identification on the off-topic filtering to create a clean transcript to work on. And then we annotate the data with some key construct we identified, I will introduce later, and which is about the challenges and the regulation process, and then we get the training data for the AI model. So here are the, sorry, it's a little bit small, but I will introduce in detail. So we focus on the challenge moment and the regulation of learning. For the challenge moment, we focus on 5 types of challenges, which are the cognitive challenges. Students have some difficulties in understanding some specific concept understanding some the materials. The second one is the metacognitive challenges, whether students have challenges in planning, in monitoring, in reflecting on their self. And third one is emotional challenges, whether they have some, they are depressed, they are sad, or they are too excited. And a fourth one is the technical or other challenges. For example, students have challenges in logging to their system, they can't use some specific tools. That's the four challenges we have identified. And there are three phases of regulation we have tried to detect from their verbal data, which are task analysis. So they try to understand the task, what they are going to do, and make a plan, how can we do it. And second one is the task enactment and monitoring, which is they take actions to finish this plan they have made earlier. And the last one is the large and small scale reflection and adaptation, which is they try to reflect on what they have done, whether they have done well, what needs to be improved, what they can take away for the next task. So we have detected these challenges and regulations based on their conversation data. And here are the two methods we have come up to do it. First, very traditionally, we do a machine learning approach. So we have the annotated data set already, and we do the engineered features, which are the works with TF-IDF, part of speech, segmented analysis. I will not go to the detail of this because I don't think this technology part is the focus of today. And we fit it into a supervised machine learning classifiers and try to see whether they can achieve good performance of detecting those challenges and the regulation process. And we found the accuracy for the challenge detection with the machine learning approach would be 0.81, and the accuracy of the F1 score of the regulation process detection would be 0.86, which is acceptable, not high, very high, but acceptable in the future use. And we also try to wonder whether we can use the large language model to detect this kind of education meaningful constructs in the data set. So we fine-tune a large language model, use prompting and provide some examples, and use also some RAG techniques to for using ChatGPT-4 and give them the transcript and try to let it to do the classification work. And we found it can also do it, but the accuracy is a little bit higher, lower, which is the 0.78 F1 score in challenge detection and 0.81 in regulation process detection. And then we all use all this information, including nonverbal behaviors of group interactions, speaking times, and the challenge moment and the regulation process, fed them into a dashboard we have. So that's the overview of the whole data. So from the right-hand side, that's the data we collect. We map it with derived features, and then map it with the behavior markers, which are the behaviors we can directly observe, and then we map them with the higher order constructions about the regulation of learning, quality of collaboration. So we try to visualize all these features in our dashboard and provide them to students because we want students to have a reflection on their own learning process, discuss with each other, and try to improve themselves by having this information. So we have visualized their speaking time, their in the timeline, how they interact with each other, and we have showed them what kind of challenges their peers had, and during the whole process, what kind of challenges and what kinds of regulation they have had. And for all these visualizations, we have a small, like here, not small, but quite long feedback that's generated by the teacher with the AI. So basically, we ask the teachers to set some thresholds saying if the students have more than 10% time focusing, not speaking, silent time, they will have feedback like blah, blah, blah. So that's the first version we have. We have used this system in a real-world higher education module. We give this feedback in week 5, so which is the middle of the whole term. and asking them to have a look at it, reflect on it, discuss with their group members, and try to give some feedback and try to evaluate whether it's going to work or not. So we collected their feedback through interview, focus group, and some of the individual reflection diary. We analyzed the data through a framework called social transfusion, which focus on the visibility of the tool, the awareness that the student have, and the accountability, which means that whether the student take actions to do it. And the last one is the ethical issues around use of this technology. So for the visibility, students find it helpful. They can have a look at their own learning process, but the problem is some of the components are confusing, so they can't understand some of the wording. For example, if we are using the wording of interact with peers through communication, they can't map this wording with their learning behaviors. And the lack of understanding of the backup theories and define definitions of the terminologies. For example, when we're talking about the SSRI, sometimes they can't understand, what does task enact mean? What does it mean in my personal learning? And for the awareness, which shows that the students find it helpfulness of the feedback, the information there can help them to know what I have done. And it can foster the reasoning and adaptation. For example, they find some challenges over 3 weeks, but they don't actually know how this happened. And after they look at that dashboard, say, that's because one student, they are talking too much, and other students stay silent, they don't have mutual discussion. So it can help them to reason why there's such challenge happening in the group discussion. But the limitation of it is students are caring about the accuracy of the detection. So they think that what they have experienced is different from what has been detected. But actually, we don't know which is right because they have a long time ago. They might have a different memory over time, and detection might be wrong. So we don't actually know whether who is wrong. And for the accountability, where we care about how students take actions to address their challenges. So we have also some small changes in personal behaviors. For example, students who are always silent, they tend to speak more, and the students who speak more tend to encourage other students to speak more. But we didn't find very significant changes in group behaviors. Maybe it's due to the interest. The students are still mainly focused on, I should learn something, rather than, I should learn how to learn. And also, they are not worth the effort because this kind of process is not easy. They need to pay more attention to this during their preparation, which makes it harder. And for the ethic area, we have some observation effects, which are students. If there's a camera there in the group, students find nervous, and sometimes they are a little bit worried about being captured by the camera or being monitored by teachers. But we found that after 3 weeks or 5 weeks, students when they get used to it, and when they find that this kind of feedback are useful for them, they're quite happy to accept it. We have one group of students, at first they didn't accept saying, I'm not happy with myself being videoed or being captured by the audio in the classroom, so we didn't give them system. But after the intervention, and they said, I found that feedback for other groups are very useful. We want the same. So if we can get that feedback, I'm happy to be videoed in the classroom. So that's very interesting finding. But we also found the biases in adherent to a particular field of study as a limitation, and also concerns over the feedback accuracy and reliability. And students are a little bit worried about being judgmental through a comparison. So based on the student feedback, we have a more neat version of the student dashboard, and we try to show students how they perform over weeks. Are they active across weeks, and whom they usually talk to is, what kinds of interaction they had in their group activities, and what challenge they usually meet. And here is, sorry, but I think you can see it later in the dashboard we give you. So we mapped the challenges with the regulation of learning. So when they meet a challenge, what kind of actions, regulations they will have after meeting these challenges, and also timeline to show their process. And here are some bullet points we have generated based on these visualizations to help them as a feedback to help them to learn a little bit further. So I will stop here because for the next 45 minutes, I will invite you all to experience this dashboard and the teacher dashboard demo. And before that, I want to see if there's any questions regarding the work. Yes.
Yeah. Super cool work. Thank you for sharing. Really interesting. I mean, maybe this is a stupid question, but the first part of the talk the first thing you were showing was more data about social self-regulation.
Socially shared regulation.
Yeah, socially shared regulation. And you have this nice stuff like who they're looking at, who they're talking to in these really nice categories. And then the second part, you're now looking at sort of challenges and regulation behaviors. Is there a relationship between those two where, like, can you see from the way that people are interacting, does that affect the types of challenges that come up or the forms of regulation that they
I think that's a very, very good question. So for the first part is inaugural to see whether students are doing things together, whether they are discussing, whether they are initiating. But the content they are initiating, they are discussing might not directly relate to the regulation of learning. They might discuss just what's the weather today, what's the food, how's the food for the lunch, have you had a swim today? But we want to focus on if they are discussing something, what they are discussing about. Either are they discussing something to relate to a challenge, and if they are discussing about challenge, have they come through the process of the regulation of learning to address this challenge? So it's a combination. Without the first part, nonverbal behaviors, we don't know whether students they are discussing. Maybe just one student saying, "Oh, we have these challenges. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, and do it." It's not socially shared regulation. It's more like a self-regulation. But for the second part, if we don't do it, we just know students they are discussing, but whether they are regulation or not. So that's the combination. But I think that's a very good question because we are now thinking about how can we connect them better. Because in this dashboard, it's still like two parts. One part is about whether I engage or not, and another part is what kind of things I do. But how can we make sense of both of them, making them together to tell the whole story, is something we are still struggling and try to move forward. So many thanks for the
Yeah, thank you.
I've got a question if nobody else has. Have you tried showing such a dashboard to a different group? Okay, so rather than people reflecting, trying to map what they see to what they remember, you say these aren't you. This is not about you. This is about the group at the other end of the room. What do you infer was going on with them, so that they're trying to understand regulation by looking at somebody else succeeding or failing, as opposed to looking at themselves?
We never tried this. I think that's a very good suggestion because in pointing at when they're looking at a data or a visualizations, whether they have the ability to analyze, no matter whether it's themselves or not. I think that's very good. And then partly related to what we are going to do next. If we are a teacher, we are looking at the dashboard, whether we can make judgment, we can make decisions in terms of what kind of feedbacks we give, which group we want to support. Thank you so much. If there's no more questions, I will move to the next part. So for the work we introduced just now, we work with students. We give these visualizations to students, but how can we empower teachers in this process? Because teachers are play important roles in process of learning, and we have a framework raised by my supervisor in terms of 3 different ways of using AI by teachers. So in this graph, so the x-axis is the development of AI through automation. So lots of AI is developed to automate the task. For example, give grade to students, automating analyze students' learning process. And one aspect is about the human. Where the teachers, they have control of this AI process. And if we move along this line to increase automation through AI, and the use of AI would be the human tasks are replaced by AI. So we can see the humans' competence dropped and the AI models' competence raised over time because more and more AI tools were developed to automate the task. For example, give grades, give feedback, also make reading. But teachers may over rely on this kind of tools, and so that they lose competence of making such pedagogic judgment. And if we look at this, which is not focusing on automation through AI, is more focusing on the human control. That's it. Which is, for example, lots of learning analytics work. We use AI to generate some meaningful insights of the learning process. What are the important patterns in terms of the cognitive learning? What are the important patterns of self-regulated learning? And we give these patterns, this insight funded by the AI to a teacher. Teacher adapt it, understand it. For example, I find discussion is important in cognitive learning, and it is detected from AI, and the AI let the teacher know. Teacher will take this insight into their practice and use it. But the problem with this is, over time, the teacher's competence will raise for sure because they will learn more about the pedagogical knowledge and skills. But the AI models will drop. Once the teachers already internalize the knowledge formed by the AI, they are not used anymore. That's the second one. So what we are envisioning is the third one. Is there any case that we call synergistic that a human competence and AI use can increase at the same time? So the human cognition is extended within AI tightly. So which means that in a scenario that teacher can collaboratively with work with AI, that they increase their competence, and also teacher themselves can provide professional experience to an AI to help the AI to increase their abilities. That's what we are trying to looking at now. And we have an EU-funded project called towards Teacher AI Complementarity type of project. And we are trying to design a teacher dashboard based on the work I introduced just now with this envision. So now we will move to more hands-on activities. So in the next 45 minutes, so I will introduce the demo we have in 5 minutes, and then I will invite you all to explore and his feedback in 10 minutes, and give us some feedback, and your individual reflection in 15 minutes, and then we'll have a group discussion. So does anyone have this password and account? Yes. Yeah. If you scan it, but I would suggest you to enter this tiny URL for the app we have developed with your laptop, because otherwise the screen is a little bit too small to give the text.
Does it matter if I use my phone or?
Yeah, it's fine, but I would suggest a bigger screen. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, everyone get access? Good. So before we go to the exploration phases, may I have your attention for 5 more minutes? I will go through the dashboard we have together. So we have developed this student feedback report, just as I have introduced you here. So we have 3 tabs about introduction, which let the students know what we are doing, what's the meaning of some of the terminology, and how the data has been processed, or introduction here. And for this overview tab, we have summarized students' activities in over weeks, but here is only 1 week, so it's only have 1 week data input in this demo. To see whether students are, there are 3 things you can focus on: speaking time, whether they are, how long they spend on speaking during the session, active listening, whether they pay attention to their peers, and what kind of challenge they have reported during before the session. So that's the overview tab. And
Is that diagram for the group?
yes, for the group.
And are the different colours the various students or the?
Here in different colors represent different types of challenge. Yeah, different. And this represent the group is the average score that they reported in terms of 4 or 5 students. And for the weekly engagement, we have some self-reported data from students, see whether they are satisfied with their process of learning, whether they have shared understanding, whether they have contributed to the group work, and whether they think it's effective enough for the group work. And we have, based on their discussion, on the left-hand side, we have summarized what they have discussed in this week. So this summary is generated by the AI. And also, we have some graphs, pie chart, and turn-taking graph to show how students interact with each other. And under this, we have, based on these visualizations, we have some feedback. This feedback are generated by AI, collaborated with the teacher work. And also, we have some visualizations about the regulation. So that's what I present just now for the student part. But what we have today is we try to draft a teacher dashboard demo. Yeah.
There is a difficulty here. They couldn't log in. So.
Okay, I will come a little bit later. We have time. Okay, no worries. So we have a teacher dashboard here to see. For example, I'm focusing on here. You can choose what you are focusing on. Whether you're focusing on student speaking time, their group interactions, or the challenge they detected by the AI. So I would choose, okay, let's see, speaking time first. And I visualize it from bar chart and it's the week 2 data. So then I can see across all groups their speaking time and how long they stay silent. And if I want to set some alerting criteria, for example, I'm caring whether students are not speaking, not talking anything for over maybe half of the session, I can set the threshold. For example, 0.5, and we'll find all groups, they are actively discussing with each other at least of the half. But you can change this threshold. Maybe I'm very restricted. I said 10%, 50%. 50% is too much. So, okay, let's take 25%. So what is it? The ideal situation is the student should not be silent for over 25% of the whole session. And the dashboard will show there are 3 groups: Group 3, Group 5, and Group 6. They stay silent over 25% of the whole session. And then I want to give some feedback for them. For example, I want to encourage the students who didn't speak a lot. If they stay silent for a long time, then I can define the feedback for students based on this threshold. So we can say the feedback for the case over threshold, which they are more silent, you can edit this kind of feedback. I'm not a good teacher, maybe I will directly give them saying, please discuss me. So when you apply this changes, so we have setting a alerting criteria, which is 25% of the time should not be should lower than this 25% of the silent time, and if it's over this, we should encourage students to by sending the feedback of discussing. So if we go back to this student dashboard, and we find a group that they are, which we find it is not active enough, and you can find here the feedback is changed based on my activity. So this enables teachers to give them autonomy for compared with the previous, that's the previous AI tools directly generated by the algorithm preset by the researchers or the developers. Here, teachers play more important role. They can have their own criteria of the learning process. They want students to discuss more. They want students to have less challenges, and then based on these criteria, they can personalize their feedback using their professional experience and professional skills to design a feedback that's more suitable for their students. So in the next 25 minutes, I will invite you all to explore a little bit of this dashboard, and with this reflecting questions. So here, what challenges do you usually face when designing or facilitating collaborative learning activities? And to what extent do you think the tool could help address the challenges you mentioned earlier? Why do you think the tool would not help address these challenges? And how do you think the tool would or would not help address the challenges? And in what ways could the tool be integrated in your teaching and collaborative learning practice? And which aspect of the tool could be improved to better support your needs? How could the tool be conceptually designed to promote synergy between the teachers and AI? So you remember we mentioned the third ways of using AI, which empower teachers' competence and also raise the AI competence. How we achieve that? And what kinds of additional skills, knowledge, and support a teacher need to make full use of this kind of tool? Because it's not only about designing the tool, it also we try to help teachers to better use this content. What kind of skills and knowledge and support we should give to teachers. So I got two links. Left-hand side is demo, and you got all the accounts. Let me know if you can't log in. Right-hand side is a survey, and you can do some individual reflection on there and helping us to do the co-design work, because your opinion is very important for us to improve this kind of tool. I will time for 25 minutes, and after 25 minutes, we can have a group discussion. Thank you.
The screen will be too small to.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
This one is the teacher. Thank you so much for the keynote because it's quite related to our work.
Yeah, so this is kind of showing. You have to read this from right to left. It's like reading out.
I've done some touch
Because I as well. Okay, so this is other people. Yeah, this is the other page where this is the
from the usability. Or not even usability. Getting people to use it.
Because in our case, our students are educational technology students. They are keen on it. They have a motivation of using it. But even with these kind of students, it's very hard to ask them to say, oh, you should do this. They don't care about it. They don't care about what kind of the knowledge. It's really.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
I guess one
We have started for 2019.
When the students are
Yes.
Step by step. So it's
how
every year we give a little bit of
introduced to them
to see
consent.
saying, oh, this works, that works, this works, and show the next year of students saying, oh, students with this, they can achieve them. If they see the value, they will use it.
Clearly,
That's exactly what
they value certain kinds of essays rather.
for them to get that out.
And if
So
you
I
give
don't
whole
fully
thing
extent
very complex,
that those value judgments are explained.
I use not one word direct, what should I do?
So
Are they like,
I know that.
yeah.
Yes. So clearly they value interaction.
Yeah.
Lots of interactive stuff. Staying silent is not valued.
So
It's not it's not situation.
Yeah. Or maybe too much. What is it? What is sweet process? Oh, okay, you do.
And this is
Yeah,
correct.
exactly.
it's a focus.
We know from studies of group formation, group work, that
Yes.
some students actually think about what others are saying, then they'll do that and say something later. And other students want to talk immediately.
So
And they look back ways of thinking.
So here we only have the solid. So it's based on inference. So, but the normal one that's going to be done in seconds.
So it's basically what the student teacher says, some students serve, not some the semester. Group work, yeah.
What they say.
And besides,
So, yes. So that's true in a way that the criteria only emerge once the students are exposed to.
Does it keep the
And see if
okay, that's what
it's criticized. Or
You
is
didn't
praised.
find a very good server to host it.
Oh, okay, so to save,
Yes.
to save, yeah.
and we are in this first.
And they are looking, I don't know how they are talking.
Yeah, so we use 1 year to
Change your trailer.
for yeah, through research.
I don't,
You know, what's there.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
At one point I thought he was saying that
It's
Yeah.
it is actually
could.
2 PhDs.
And another point he said that they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
They could detect that a student was talking, not what they were saying. And I guess in that very crowded environment,
Yeah.
it might be difficult to. Because the issue that they talk about football rather than
Yeah, it's very active. But that's a nice game.
for example, yes.
Features.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now there's
Of the groups, yes, okay. This, according to whatever was the criteria, so this one seems to have failed against that criteria. Yeah, because I can see that seemed to indicate that this is the group. That exclamation mark implies that this group has failed the criteria that was mentioned.
They have other objectives.
I'm wondering how many the intercept for a given criteria to set a value for it. But I wonder whether what choice of criteria you does this
now we have to choose.
okay. Or areas okay.
The budget, the reality.
Oh, okay, so
There we.
all right, right, so basically, these are the criteria that you can look at and you can. So I could imagine one of these
always get two.
I would like
Not the whole, not all the, just disappear.
I would like to have another entry into this possible area, like a new area, which then the designers go away and say, we can't do that, or we yes, we didn't, because we're limited to the kind of data that collect. So there may be some, the teacher may put something like yes, which isn't possible to infer from data. Yes, we just organize a big change. Well, we can't make it grow. But it might be to changing that whole diagram, whether it's right to left to adding something new in terms of data, feed into an area
That's the challenge we do these days. I agree.
It's a relatively,
It's hard to find.
yes,
because it might be much to see other looking at potentially these things, statistics at point either of midterm or week to look for changes in the so has the amount of gains decreased or increased, or has the amount of talk between these two people increased rather than saying, well, this is enough.
Yeah.
Now, this is the average. Well,
this is the,
diagrams show the changes of the whole
Like as long as it's
the navigation never.
okay, yeah.
Slow, sorry, we don't have it. It's very slow. It's very slow. Let's take.
We have been talking about.
You allow the 5% of the 4%.
One side, Swedish one side. Some
So then,
have like, they can do it. I guess the task can be done in scenarios,
3, 4
which are
per
like,
month English.
doesn't matter if it's like, depending on the.
Students who are
And the
not
third
so
language
What you say with
intuitive.
the
Spanish is very
was
popular. It could
For
be
example,
French and
whether it was 5 people, each time discussing.
Yeah.
Just give one,
Yeah, and
okay.
Yes,
Oh,
and
that's
more
good.
this question
Uh,
is always my mind, like,
So it's 3 languages.
like companies that has that, you know, that efficiency. Yeah.
To interact.
So what do you
Already, we are like, it's done like.
Yes, I was really right. Yes, please. Somebody should As I said, in terms of yes. So soon as the adverts.
Yeah.
Between messages.
Or like,
I used to be really bad.
society.
Yes.
Like even teaching anyway,
Yes, they get the money directly, you don't want the ads, just like that.
But then you're talking like, oh,
The students.
Thanks so much.
this one is nice. But I woke up and still watching this place. And then, you know, like, it's clear that it's good. I think that's something I'm just good at. It takes a lot of time.
This is all useful. Is it presented at the start of the?
yeah.
In we want. They come last and how to behave.
Things like it's openly, at least if not in the present, but hopefully like somebody wants to say.
And then it's
Yes.
Never spoken about this.
And that's the difference we start to see so many English speaking.
They're more. What changes?
No, I think it's further, it's further down.
So we do it like.
Right, so people are working.
I don't know. I really don't.
Okay.
Or are they also able to give
But
per piece?
They call it Swedish democracy.
I thought, I'm happy to see the feedback on students say,
So this is which group?
yes, this is the student.
This is a
How
student.
do we see the feedback?
This one is
These are good actually.
Oh, okay.
This one is the
Can anyone see?
it's addition.
Yeah, so can they see themselves?
They only can see themselves. Yes, and for teachers, they can see it.
So it gives us except for one person, I think, most of this. So when you see someone like that talking, like, everyone's.
Yeah, this is not, I always find the use of
It's really consistent. Never seen that one talk.
it's a system talking to
When you
me.
think back, I know someone's going to.
I said it quickly. Bingo.
It's like, I feel like he's used this a lot of tricks. Would be good to learn. He does a lot of super interpretation. He's super interpretation. Do you think he's doing it? He says that. And then he like reframes it a little bit.
Overrule, but not.
He does a lot of that.
Or only a small.
There are text relations.
So then it takes seconds to stretch those all together, even though that's big, it's only a proportion.
I don't know, there's something about it.
So if it was 20 minutes, that would really be fast.
I've never noticed that. Does he really? Does that work? I was talking about it.
I don't know if I could.
Businessman.
That's right.
He's always just going somewhere. Southeast Asian really for work. For 4 years. And I was like, oh, what is your family?
It obviously was.
So
It wasn't.
station.
They couldn't say this.
They wanted this.
It's not only recording how much you speak, but what
Yeah, so if you want to record
That's quite impressive, the noisy room.
we spent 3 years trying to
Maybe.
both like hardware and software.
Yeah.
But still, I hope I'm not very excited. But the application, taking responsibility to students and teachers, I don't think it's a good.
Well, apart from the noisy environment,
So next, was like my position in choosing.
My responsibility how to high of the line, what type of line, what activation, software.
I suppose the only thing is to put a mic on every student. That's expensive.
One thing is expensive, another thing is actually it's extremely students will consider if they have their own life outside there's a trade-off that and I see it as the whole system. So
As I get older,
more
as I get older, by myself, my like, oh yeah, by myself. Crazy. It's fine, so it's young, but now.
Still like this design with small seats, right? So seats, if you would need like 5 of these.
That's yes.
These students is for the student is for these students is to partially this is speak after that's a conversation.
Oh, it's an interactive. Yes, it's an interactive.
This one is.
I was, no one of them trying to read the whole set.
Oh,
Yeah, this is.
Actually, so that's the control. So we ask them to so before the after the session, what kind of challenge they have, so for each group, it's sort of to what extent they are behavioral challenge.
And it's one thing.
It's over 5.
And the threshold is also later.
It's a nothing scale.
Okay, so it has the same like 3.
Yes. Yeah, so they are all fine, so they
So
and if we go back to the functions,
Yes, I guess the impression
it's not shown
Maybe not me.
which is nonsense. It's also to medical
Okay.
it's a demo, so we only choose the non-cognitive behavior actions. So if they cognitive actions is more than 50%, then
and it's developed
because it's detected faster.
Maybe I don't know. For visually, comparing it's great. It's 1,000
Yes. Interface was that we have a lot of things to do. Yes, a lot of it. Because it's definitely the idea of how teachers can use it.
So the functionality, the
That's fine. That is we are not good.
like
That's basically the science. Oh my God.
You seem to have insurance. Really? That's also nice. That's a nice song. I love the same. Is that where we have all the events? Every time. Yeah. Tonight, evidence. Kind of perfect. The town is really beautiful. So, nice to say, it's really nice. Like, well, it's really cool. We're gonna have poster sessions.
actually, I don't know if it's not just because I didn't do that. Yes. The one that's in my not the one. The one that's like yeah.
So funny, because, but on Instagram, I got some friends from the United States are following this rapid Instagram. It's very weird, very avant-garde. And it's like he's in Muslim, and all of his videos are shot from Muslim. People love these videos because they show like it looks like he's in Skyrim. It looks like he's in the video game. He's like this weird white guy who's rapping. He looks like a nerd. But he's rapping like in fun. Pick like the most beautiful part of the view of the cathedral and the cobblestone. Like doing this in Irish, really weird and French. Really, but the thing I really like about it, it's like I allowed me to see Switzerland totally fresh, like as if I've never been to really see the beauty. Strange and beautiful. It's like there's nothing like anywhere else. And it's only when you juxtapose this like really strange it's like wrapping is really abrasive and weird.
Okay,
There's
everyone.
something really special there. I can't picture. It's like a new
I think we are almost there in terms of
I'll show
time.
you
So I want to hear from you guys about what do you think about this tool? Is there any feedback, anything that you find interesting, and anything fun challenge?
A nice tool. I'm thinking about what you said with those 4 diagrams of education and technology, low input from both teachers and from the AI. I'm thinking about wanting to build systems that grow with the teacher. It's kind of cut and dried about what the system is able to collect and the kinds of analysis it can make of what it has collected. But a teacher might decide that for that teacher, either some other kind of data would be useful to have, or with the data that you have collected, some other kind of analysis might be likely to have. So it might be really nice if within the system there was a possibility, where you've got these drop-down menus, you can have blah 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 blah, and to have another one which says an open-ended. An open-ended text box. Please, in future, could you allow either this new data to be collected, or please could you allow this other kind of analysis to be made of the data that you're collecting, so that every time a teacher uses it, there's a possibility in the use by the teacher of suggesting a future development, rather than as if we're having a separate process of asking, like here, about how you might make it better. Every teacher would have a chance to say, look, why don't you do X? That would be a suggestion from me.
Many thanks for this suggestion. I think it's very good. For our current work, I think it's still here. It's middle.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. But I'm suggesting a route for that.
Yes. So trying to move it towards here. And I think what you said is very important for us is teachers, they have their own preference, or they have some ideas of how to make more meaningful of data. And I think the AI, we should find a way to let the AI learn from the teacher. And how can we, for example, teachers have some specific requirements, or why not try this kind of algorithm like this? Maybe AI can learn from this kind of open text using large language, learn from it and adapt it and create a new algorithms to analyze it. That will be very interesting, I think.
And I've got a question about what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand at what point the students were told what the desirable kinds of behaviours were according to your views of desirable behaviour. I mean, did they learn it kind of incidentally by being exposed to this, or at the beginning of the class, the beginning of the term? Did you say, okay, we want our students, I want you students to behave by lots of talk, lots of gazing at each other, lots of questions, or what? I mean, how were they alerted to how you wanted them to, or were they never alerted?
I think that's a very good question, because actually we met this problem in the first 2 years when we tried to use this tool. We just give them to students, and students say, oh, I don't know why this is good, that is not good. And who set this criteria? So what we are trying to do is, before the class starts, in the first week or week there, we have a discussion with students, between teachers and students. They are co-regulate or socially share regulate, saying, oh, that is the desire situation we all want to move towards. And that in an ideal situation, that all this kind of use of the AI tool should have a negotiation between teacher and student. They should have their shared goal together. Otherwise, teachers want I use this way because I have blah blah reasons, but students they can't understand it. If they can't understand it, they actually don't know how to learn. I think that's a very important point, and thank you for raising it. And that's aligned with our some exploration around how to integrate it into the pedagogical design. Any other ideas, thoughts?
Wonder, you might have explained this, but did you like analyze? Have you analyzed this data, like in terms of like comparing it to the success of the the actual assignment? Because I mean, you could do the group work, I guess, in many different ways and still like succeed really well or not so well.
I think there are 2 points here. From one aspect is this kind of collaborative learning or socially shared regulation, the quality of the process, or it's really hard to be assessed. For example, we talking about competence of socially shared regulation. How can we measure it in a 10-week classroom is a problem. So the answer, if we looking at the socially shared regulation of competence, no, we don't measure it. We just see whether students have more behaviors about this. That's one side. Another side is what we assume or we envision is this kind of socially shared regulation phases will help students to learn better in terms of their content knowledge related to the course. And we have conducted that analysis, and we found that students who engage more in this socially shared regulation phases can get higher scores in their final exam. But our exam is essay writing. So which quite aligned with the activity design, because the essay writing is not right or wrong, it's to show how they understand the concept in depth, which they can gain from the discussion with their peers.
Sorry, just have an idea. Maybe these like better, so academically very like successful students are also the ones who like lead the group work and discuss more, and then they do good at their essays also.
I'm not actually. We didn't do this kind of analysis whether they
Okay.
because somehow we can't pass the ethic approval. Because if we said the intervention is directly linked to students' performance, actually is not fair to students who didn't get the intervention or didn't make full use of it. So current stage, we didn't link it very clearly to that one. But I would say it's an interesting area to explore, to finish the whole. Any other ideas, thinking?
I have a question. Is it possible to provide to the teachers a more breakdown of the information when you show challenges? For example, as a teacher, I would be interested in actually understanding how I can help the student.
Mm-hmm.
And if I know it's a cognitive challenge or an emotional challenge, I still don't know how I can help the student.
Yeah, I think that's we are struggling with this for a long time, because I told a teacher, or Dashboard told a teacher, saying the students have cognitive challenge. But what is it about? Is it about concept A or concept B? It's still blinded to teachers. So teachers find it's not specific enough to give this kind of information. So we previously have an idea saying when we detect the challenges, we show the transcriptions of the moment to teachers, and teacher can make decision what it is about. But we find it's somehow increase the workload of teachers. Again, why we use this kind of dashboard to help them to reduce the cognitive load of thinking of this. If we give lots of very detailed information about what students said, blah blah blah, at the classroom, and teachers are not only focusing on collaborative learning. they have other teaching tasks at the same time. So they might be struggled about how to. But so I think that's a very valuable question. But we are still thinking about. But if you have any good ideas, please, we can have some more discussion. Thank you so much.
The diagrams that you showed are essentially static. What they show is what happened over a week or what happened over half of the course. I couldn't find any diagrams which show change. So, for example, has some item of interest, how much has that changed from how it was in week 1 to how it was in week 10? So, for example, let's say the amount of talk.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you want the talk not to dominate, nor to be zero. Okay? You want it to kind of be middling.
Yeah.
So, for any particular student, one possible trajectory could be from 0 up to the optimum, or for another kind of student, it could be from 100% down to. But a diagram showing how things have changed would be really interesting because you are in fact looking for change in behaviours, but you don't have a diagram showing change.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. We can adapt it in the next version in our dashboard to show more changes across their learning process. Thank you so much.
Is it anonymous, or can the teacher see whose student is it, or
Yes, the teachers can.
the name of the student?
Yes.
Okay, and would the student know what the teachers see?
Yes.
So
It's
they
all-
know that, for example, interaction is one thing. So maybe this also by itself can
Yes.
change
So
the behavior of the student.
yes, so teachers know what students can see, and students know what teachers can do. So it's so once students know what teachers can do, and they know that the teacher play an important role in this process. In our cases, the teachers tend to trust, students tend to trust more on this AI. If it's pure AI, just generated all the things in a black box, students are not that trust because they want to hear more from teachers' experience. But that's from what we studied before. Yeah, I think we gone out of time already. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any further questions, any feedbacks, please let me know, and we're happy to discuss with you. Thank you so much.
We have 30 minutes.
30 minutes.